audio levels are all good. But let's try and start. So I thought we could start with this. It's an
Question for you.
antinatalist.
Is it wrong to bring a child into the world knowing that they don't have an opportunity to decide for themselves if they want to be here? When it's a decision that we want, when it's known that living in life will guarantee suffering and hardship, is it morally wrong for us to impose that on somebody? It's food for thought.
It's wrong to make others suffer, but it's also wrong to not care about the rest of the world and what's going on there as well. So yeah, simply not having a kid, simply being an antinatalist, doesn't really do much to help anyone. It's basically doing nothing and then pretending to be a hero. Yeah, it might prevent your child from suffering, but doesn't prevent anyone else's from suffering, doesn't prevent animals from suffering. Really, it's quite literally doing nothing and then pretending that you've done something. Yeah, it's literally, so like advocating for antinatalism is essentially saying only care about your own kid, a non-existent being, right? You should only care about something which doesn't even exist. So it's saying, yeah, don't care about anyone else, don't care about animals, you should only care about something which doesn't even exist. And do nothing, continue doing nothing, and suddenly you're a hero.
The thing I never really liked about life is that it's inherently competitive. Everyone's trying to compete for the same things, housing, jobs, material possessions. With 8 billion people here, it's kind of needless to add to it, to throw another mouth to feed on.
So yeah, the problem with antinatalists like this guy is they don't really have, the proper ethics. They don't care about the right things. So, he thinks it's the problem is competition. So he'd probably be happy if the world was communist, and as long as there's no competition, it doesn't matter if people are, born with chronic pain and depression. They don't matter. He just wants a nicer world for himself. That's it. That's the problem with antinatalists. Hey Shroom, thank you for joining us. Yeah, let me know if the audio levels are working, if you can hear the videos, because I have no idea if this new format is going to work. So let's keep going.
To a mountain. A lot of people say we're living in the best times to be alive. And while in 2026 that might be respectively true compared to 1326, it still doesn't negate the fact that life is full of hardship irrespective of the era that you're born in. This is a classic example of something called fallacy of relative privation. We just have different problems today. And because suffering is so unpredictable, somebody could look back at their whole life and see how much bad they've been through and realize that it was actually completely unnecessary and it didn't help them grow. It just scarred them.
Yeah.
Here's
true.
the thing about natalist rhetoric, right? It dismisses suffering as if it's something that should not be objected or questioned, and it even glorifies it. It shames, it mocks, it subjugates anyone who dares to question tradition.
This is true.
People call for self-deletion just to end the debate right there. Or even worse still, when you get people of faith chiming in saying that it's something that's preordained, they say it as though it's a fact. I don't know, man. I just feel like these things should be talked about.
Yeah, not just talked about, but enforced, right? So, problem with antinatalists, again, is that, they're saying, life shouldn't exist, it's a bad thing, but they're not offering the solution. It's like ethylism. It offers the problem, which is that life is bad, and then it just stops there. So, great, we know that life is bad, but what's the solution, okay? Not having a kid doesn't do anything. It literally changes nothing, right? It literally changes nothing. All you do is prevent one child from being born, and then you say, I'm not going to lift a finger to help anyone else not be born. So that's never going to achieve anything. That's leaving everything to fate, leaving everything up to pro-lifers and saying, do whatever you want, right? Have a child and torture it. I won't stop you. How does that make sense? That doesn't make sense. All right, so OG Tai is saying, James, what's the context of what you're doing? Well, I'm trying a new format for streaming, and I thought we could just watch some TikTok videos and react, basically. So let's see what else we got. I have no idea what's going to come up on the stream, but maybe there'll be something we can react to. I'm just on my For You page, which probably going to be a bit of a mess.
I dropped it by accident and I picked it up.
Let's see. See if we've got
Ты самый
anything
настоящий доктор
Oh yeah,
Франкенштейн.
so
Именно вы
this
говорите,
is
что у
a
вас есть
Russian
право
ethicist
навязывать...
page. It's actually quite a big thing. There's loads of Russian ethicists out there, and I think their Telegram has like hundreds of thousands of people actually. The problem is they're all just obsessed with Gary and Mendham, and it's just one big circle jerk essentially, where again there's no solution. Yes, it's fine saying that life is the problem. But, Gary, for example, he tells people not to do activism, right? He tells people not to spread the message. So they're against organized activism. That's the problem with ethicists. They're quite literally against it. The person that made the movement, if you can call it a movement, it's not really a movement. It's just more of an idea at this point. Yeah, he said that he's against organized activism, against actually carrying out extinction, against enforcing safety, right? Against actively providing safety. And just like antinatalists, ethicists also just send a little prayer out. Maybe they'll stop having kids one day, right? I'm not going to do anything about it, but maybe if we pray hard enough, they'll just decide to do the right thing. It's like it's like being against the police, right? Defund the police. It doesn't make sense. Maybe the criminals will decide to be good. Okay, let's see what else we got. Now, in keeping with the reaction format that we're trying here, which again I got the idea from Asmongold. We should probably build like a pipeline of videos to react to, right? So if anyone wants to like be my assistant with that and help me set up some videos to react to for like a future stream, make things a bit better, then yeah, DM me, right? Let's do it. That's how it works. All right, let's see what else we got.
Okay, so you're just
Load of rubbish on my For You page. I mean, why do these weirdos keep coming up?
You cannot get this.
Природа жестоко убьет 1 миллион, чтобы потом убить еще один.
You cannot get the same amount
The
of
militant
protein
vegan,
that
yeah,
you
this
get
one keeps
per
coming up
100
a lot
gram
on
of
my
meat
feed page.
with 100 gram of
It's
nuts
this
or something
woman.
like that. You have to eat.
Tofu per 100 gram has
right,
more protein
and
than
I gotta eat
yeah,
fucking tofu every
she's actually a pretty good activist, pretty good at holding
There's
people
an
to
average
account.
healthier than
But again, obviously the problem with vegans is that they're pro-life. So they think that, every animal should get the chance to live, even if it's in chronic pain and would have been better off not being born. So that doesn't help them. That's not fair. That doesn't really do anything for the sufferers. That keeps them suffering. All right. What else we got? A lot of adverts. Why does this person keep coming up? That's like 5 times in a row. Yeah,
Человек постоянно
my For You
избегает.
page isn't very good. We need to like build a pipeline of videos.
Do you
like
think that a good life justifies me murdering someone and using them as a slave?
But the cows aren't enslaved. If we
The cows
weren't,
are enslaved.
if we
Yeah.
if we didn't have farms, what
The
would
definition of slavery is simply me being allowed to use someone else's body against their interests for my
We need to expand the definition of slavery, right? To just anything that's sort of against your will and against your own best interests, right? In a sense. I mean, there's no point, having strict definitions that kind of make things life difficult. But I would say that nature is enslaving animals. Nature is enslaving life. It's programming them to want to survive and live against their own best interests, right? It's programming them to prolong exposure to extreme danger to themselves. It's programming them to be optimistic and blindly optimistic, right? It's programming them to reproduce and force their children to suffer as well. So, I've said it before, but pro-lifers are nature slaves, basically. We've been hit with our first restriction due to reproduced content. Weck. Well, what's the point of having TikTok if you can't even watch TikTok on TikTok? TikTok sucks, man.
pleasure, and that's what you're doing. You have a good life. Can I hire a hitman to kill you now and eat your flesh?
No.
So why should we do it to a cow then?
Our biology dictates that we need protein and
We need protein.
It's science, yeah.
Absolutely. We get all protein and all nutrition from a plant-based diet. On average, vegan cohorts have better cardiometabolic outcome data than the non-vegan cohorts, as long as they eat vitamin B12, a fortified, well-planned, plant-based diet. So that is not a good reason. And if I wouldn't do it to you just because you have a different hair color than me, like we used to actually stone red-haired women because...
Yeah, we shouldn't discriminate against anyone based on how they look, what species they are. Absolutely. But we also, shouldn't discriminate against people and animals who need help just because of the type of their suffering, what caused their suffering, whether it's natural suffering. So at the minute, vegans discriminate against wild animals because they say, well, their suffering is natural, I didn't cause it, so let them suffer. Yeah, they do, right? If a vegan was directly causing the suffering, punching something in the face, maybe they'd say, okay, that was wrong. But they're happy to walk past an animal screaming in pain and say, oh, isn't nature beautiful? So that's absolutely discrimination. Discrimination based on what's causing the suffering, the source of the suffering. It's also discrimination on species as well. Absolutely. If think of it this way, right? She would definitely be horrified if a human baby was abandoned by its parents, right? And it died, it starved to death. She'd be like, oh my God, that's terrible. But a wild animal has it happen. That's beautiful. Oh, look at the children starving to death. That's nature. We should leave them to suffer. It's good that way. Crazy.
believe they didn't have a soul and they were different, then I wouldn't do it to a cow just because...
Well, I'd say you don't have a soul if you think wild animal suffering is fine, if you think that we shouldn't abolish all suffering, right? That's discrimination, that's the point. They discriminate by saying we care about farmed animal suffering, but we discriminate against everyone else. We just simply don't care how they suffer, how badly they suffer. Alright, I might have to block this person, because they just keep coming up on my bloody thing. There we go, unfollowed.
I could use help. So this is auto.
What else we got?
Now, have you ever told a lie?
The world feels more fun through creativity. Well, I agree with that, and we actually encourage people to get creative with their activism.
If you ever told a lie like Jean has told a lie, then you need to go seek some help. You see, Jean had a problem. He told...
Hey, look, it's Bob in IT.
Everyone's a liar. We're all liars. Scientists discover a new male G-spot. See, yeah, scientists should be focusing on suffering and providing safety for the world, not new ways to experience pleasure by sticking things up your bum. This is just a waste of our time and effort and focus as a species. Look, people don't need more pleasure, they need more safety from suffering. We're focusing on all the wrong things in this world.
One of the candidates that you're contemplating...
But guys, this does take consistence. If crushed with a hydro...
I absolutely hate living on
a planet with Christians is exhausting. Yeah, I agree. Most of the population on this planet is actually religious, and it's actually it's a symptom, right? Religion is a symptom. It's not the problem. It's that humans are irrational. They don't understand how the world works, and so they rely on spirituality. So debunking Christianity doesn't really achieve anything, because the Christians that you're telling it to aren't going to care. They're not going to listen, and they'll just go to a different religion. So again,
name one country in Africa.
Malawi. Hundreds of communists are taking to the streets of London on the 28th of March to protest racism. But we are going...
Okay, again, so, activism's great and everything, but the problem is that every movement in history up until the pro-extinction movements started, every movement has discriminated and said, look, we only care about racism, we only care about this or that. But that leaves people out, right? Your Communist Party does nothing for wild animals. It does nothing for people with chronic pain and, being forced into terrible situations. It also still allows for family abuse, right? Communism does not solve every problem. Communism also doesn't solve like religious oppression. I've got messages from people saying, I'm in a religious household. I've never been allowed to leave the house. I get abused. I've never even seen the world outside of my house, right? Communism does nothing for those people. It does nothing for wild animals. It still keeps suffering going, right? A communist world would still have horrific suffering, lives of pure hell where they didn't ask for it, didn't want it. It's still pro-life. It's still pro-suffering, and that's the problem.
There with a message, and our message is that love and hope are not enough to defeat racism.
Look, racism it's a horrible thing, right? But it's just one part of the problem of this world of suffering, this universe of suffering. So, abolishing racism doesn't abolish child abuse, animal abuse, depression. It does, we need a universal system, right? Why waste your time fighting against racism when we could fight for a universal system that helps everyone? Okay, that's the more efficient, the smarter thing to do, is to fight for a universal system. Because if you only fight for a partial system or the abolition of racism, then you're not doing anything for the rest of the world, right? So why not? Why don't we have a universal system?
It's because racism comes from the capitalist system, and this is a struggle.
No, racism is not because of capitalism. Racism is a part of human nature and animal nature. It's all about discrimination, right? Animals had to evolve to discriminate so that they wouldn't mind eating other animals, being selfish, and it's the same with humans, right? We discriminate against other races because of our genetics. We evolved to be animalistic and mean and selfish. It was survival of the most selfish, survival of the most racist, right? So you can't just explain that away with communism and stuff like that. It's not going to help. It's not going to abolish racism. Only extinction will do that, okay? Total extinction.
Against the system itself.
Which we have to
We
cause.
know that all capitalist politicians are racist. That includes Keir Starmer, Nigel Farage and Kemi Badenoch. Every single one of them puts out anti-migrant rhetoric and anti-migrant policies. The way that we will fight that is through a united class struggle.
We need messages against suffering, right? That's the main thing. And by calling out suffering, right, and saying that all suffering is wrong, you're not leaving out anyone, right? You're speaking for everyone. It's all inclusive, and we should be all inclusive, right? We should say that all suffering is wrong. All suffering for all life should be banned. We have to include everyone, right? Look, she probably doesn't realize that she could be doing better, that she could be speaking for more people, for a better system for everyone, for the abolition of all suffering, right? That's what we're doing here at the Pro-Extinction Movement. So I'm not really sure how it works on my TikTok live stream, because I'm still new at desktop streaming and reaction streaming like I'm doing now. But it looks like we've got 240 people in the stream, which is pretty cool. So people are asking, how do we do total extinction then, James? Well, we have to do it by growing our movement, the Pro-Extinction Movement. That's what this is all about. That's how we end all suffering once and for all. Look, perfecting life and systems for life to exist in, that's an infinite and impossible task. You're never going to perfect life for every last animal in nature, for every last person. It's too complex, it's too hard, there's too much danger to deal with, too many unknowns. But non-existence, right? That's a guarantee of safety from suffering, safety from a life of hell where you're begging for death. So that's the only fair thing, is so that nobody is suffering, nobody is begging for death. So total extinction is the right thing. And how do we do that? Well, we grow the movement with peaceful activism, change the world, make it against suffering, educate people that life shouldn't exist with danger, right? It should only exist in certainty of safety, which doesn't exist. It's impossible. That can only be guaranteed with non-existence. If I have a child today, I can't guarantee it won't have a terrible life, but if I don't have it, it does guarantee that, right? That it's obvious, it's very simple. But antinatalism won't actually help extinction just yet. We have to keep reproducing temporarily as a species until we've done animal extinction, and that could take hundreds or thousands of years. And if we allow ourselves to go extinct before then we risk animals having to suffer for billions of more years. So, billions of years of suffering, that's a massive amount, and for us to keep going for a few hundred more years so that we can help them, that's the right thing to do. So, and yeah, antinatalism, it's literally doing nothing, it's not having a child. We need to create a universal system of safety for all, for animals, humans, for the entire world, safety from being born, safety from suffering, safety from being forced to exist into a life that you didn't want. Right? Nobody should have to experience that. It's the ultimate harm, the ultimate wrong. All right, moving on.
Things I've learned.
Brian Johnson.
Sleep is the world's most powerful.
Yeah, for those who don't know, this guy is trying to. This is like the most pro-life guy you could ever see in your life. He's trying to create immortality. He's injected his son's blood into his own face, which is why it looks all messed up. This is what being obsessed with life does. It makes you a weirdo. It makes you suffer, right? Because being pro-life is being blind to the risk and the danger in this world. It's like, nah, everything will be fine, and then you get hit by a train, right? Or you end up like this guy with, allergic, allergies everywhere because you have your son's blood pumping through your face. Like, that's obsession with life. It makes you a weirdo, right? No, we should be obsessed with providing safety for the world, providing fairness for the world, a universal system that makes sure that nobody suffers, right? Extinctionism is not a crazy thing, it's not a radical thing, it's a perfectly sensical thing, it's the only thing that makes sense. It's saying we should make it so that nobody suffers, right? So that everyone is safe. It's not a controversial thing. It's only controversial to selfish people who want other people to be suffering, who don't care if they suffer.
We share the same DNA at some level with all other life on Earth, including plants.
Really?
Yes. In fact...
Just a reminder, plants do not suffer, okay? But we still have to make them go extinct in case they evolve into more sentient life, right? So extinctionism has to be the most thorough extinction possible. It's not just about having no life, it's about no possibility of life, and doing as much as we can to make that more and more advanced, that impossibility of life. It not just, nuclear bombs won't do it, okay? It's physically impossible. It's got to be much, much more advanced than that. And so, even if it takes thousands or millions of years, that's still the right thing to do. And potentially we can leave that job to AI and robots, right? And so they'll say, right, Earth is now, it's impossible for life to exist on Earth, but maybe we can do even more science and make it even more impossible for life to exist on Earth, right? So that's kind of the dream. Ideally, we'll be able to leave it to robots. Look, if we can't rely on AI and robots, then we will have to continue doing the job. So we're happy to keep going as long as we have a moral responsibility, a moral obligation. And so, yeah, we need humanity to keep existing, to keep reproducing, so that we can do animal extinction, end their suffering forever, and then we can start researching prevention of evolution, prevention of life coming back. Oh, look, another restriction. TikTok doesn't like me today. It's like, let me stream however I want, TikTok. Leave me alone.
She would slide in.
Emotional unavailable.
We need to normalize telling people that religions are stupid. I'm sorry, if a full-grown adult told you that they believed in Santa Claus, you...
So the thing is, right, is that telling people religion is stupid, it's not really achieving anything. Again, religious people they're religious because they have a genetic issue, which makes it harder for them to understand how the world works. So, even if you explain it to them, then they're not going to fully understand, and even if they do maybe understand, they're still going to have like religious capacity in their head. They're still going to have the same problem which led them to be religious in the first place, the same sort of incapacity to use logic properly. So, forget focusing on religion. That's essentially what you're trying to do is you're dealing with unintelligent people, and you're trying to deal with the symptom, not the problem. It's not going to, there's no point, right? Educating religious people is, you might give them like 1 or 2 more IQ points at best, but it's just a waste of time, really.
Thank you very much.
Guys, I need you to see.
What's a pedophile's favorite garden?
Can someone explain to me why white boys love taking pictures from this angle? I mean,
I want you to guess if health...
See, the problem with humanity, and you can see it on TikTok or anywhere really, is that they all just focus on silly things, wastes of time, right? All of this rubbish that we're scrolling past, It's all just nonsense, basically, right? People really have nothing good to do with their time, but you know, we're providing you that option now. Do something good with your time now. Help us end all suffering. Help us abolish suffering.
So I've criticised a bunch of different arguments.
Just joined, very interesting.
Okay, yeah, here we go. Another pro-extinction channel. How the pro-suffering people feel after saying life is so bad, why don't you just... Yeah, they feel like geniuses after saying that. Yeah, it's such compassion that they show. This is what we need for extinctionism, actually. This level of activism, this level of stuff going on. This is the plan. You know, once we get more people, we'll be doing stuff like this. So yeah, we want people to join the movement and to help us grow it and to do activism. Get on the streets, get making videos, help us grow the movement until we have enough people to carry out extinction ethically and in a peaceful way. But yeah, we have to take to the streets, we have to make videos, we have to get the message out there that we have to end the suffering, right? That suffering's unacceptable, we have to abolish it now, take action, do activism.
Most people don't know this, but you've never...
I want to die.
Yeah, this guy posts on TikTok and says how he doesn't like being alive. And you see quite a lot of people doing that, actually. Yeah, I've seen quite a few people posting on TikTok saying, you know, I wish I'd never been born, basically. But again, they're not offering a solution to it, right? The pro-extinction movement is finally offering that solution. It's okay, yeah, it's bad that you're suffering, that you wish you'd never been born. Let's make sure no one else has to experience that, right? Okay, yeah, you shouldn't have to suffer like that. Nobody should. James, are you doing reaction content? Yeah, I'm giving it a go. So I've asked if okay, yeah. Yeah, let me know if there's anything I can do to improve this stream, because this is my first time doing a reaction stream, so this is new for me. I don't know if you can see me moving around on the camera on the screen right now. Yeah. All right, let's see what else we got.
Okay, so Gaz Oakley
Someone's
is no longer vegan.
Who cares?
Have you ever wondered how can someone be homeless for, let's say, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years?
No, you know, people are born without the capacity to take care of themselves properly. You know, homelessness is not really a surprise. It's quite expected in a horrible world like this, where, you know, every time you're born, it's a genetic lottery, right? You might be born handsome and intelligent, or you could be born with mental illness and anxiety and, you know, things that are going to make you much more likely to be homeless. So yeah, it's no surprise that, you know, there's horrible stuff going on everywhere, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, really. There's awful stuff going on all over the world that we have to abolish.
Veganismus macht keinen Sinn, denn
again, veganism, it's not helping anyone really. It actually causes more suffering to wild animals. Got it. Thank you, Tim. 41 viewers. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, TikTok kind of shows the current viewer count and the total viewer count. So this is my first time actually using TikTok on the computer, so it's a bit different.
Oh, I hear there's pure protein here.
Sorry? What are you doing? Who are you?
How smart you are directly correlates with your chances of being vegan. I mean, so yeah, in terms of intelligence and smarts and being vegan or even extinctionist, part of it, to be fair, is sort of compartmental rationality in a way, right? So this vegan might be smarter than someone that says that, you know, farmed animals don't suffer. But that same person, maybe they're like a genius at mathematics or something. So in some senses, yeah, intelligence is like compartmental. You know, someone can be smart at one thing and then really stupid at another thing. I think veganists are definitely smarter than meat eaters in some ways, right? You know, in a general sense, it does make sense to consider, you know, should I be a vegan, right? And I was a vegan, right? I was a vegan and an antinatalist before I found the pro-extinction movement and learned that they both cause more suffering. So yeah, I think it's kind of fair to say potentially you're smarter if you're a vegan. Maybe you're smarter if you're an antinatalist than Becky down the street having 10 kids. Yeah, you probably are. But equally, I think, you know, if you're gonna say that vegans are smarter, then you also have to say that extinctionists are even smarter, because they're saying no suffering is acceptable, right? And that yes, we can solve all suffering. Anyway,
you do not want to embrace AI. That's why.
There is no force on the earth that is more powerful than the working class when it is united and when it is organised.
So this is discrimination against people that aren't in the working class, right? Why rule them out? Why? Why just openly discriminate like that? Let's just include everyone instead, right? It doesn't have to be the working class. Just say people, right? When people come together and unite, that's a more sort of open message, more all-inclusive. But people just discriminate all the time without realizing it, and it makes their scope much smaller, right? So current viewer count is more important than total. Yeah, absolutely, Tim. Fully on board with that. My only question is, you know, is this format actually working? So this is my first time doing reaction video format, but we've only appeared to have 28 viewers, which is pretty low for me, actually. So maybe we need to get back to debates. Maybe this isn't working. You know, I thought maybe it would work, and I'm having fun with it, but let's just keep going.
You wasted half your life. Think about it. 5 years old, you begin. 12 years of primary school. 4 years of university.
People want the beef. People want the debates. All right, well, you know what? We tried it, and maybe there's more that we can do with this format in the future. Maybe there's other stuff we can do with it. Yeah, I'm scrolling for you. Yeah, exactly. But ultimately, we're not getting the views. So, again, maybe we can do something else with this format and some desktop stuff. There's loads of options you can, you know, play about with. So, if anyone's got ideas for what else we can do, then let me know. But I am going to end it now. So, thanks for joining. And I'll also be doing some debates on the normal streaming format. So, I'm going to go back to the normal stuff. Probably going to make a couple videos first. And then, yeah, I'll be streaming probably in an hour or two. So, we'll see you all then.